guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
He's back, folks. After a week in warm climates, spotted by listeners on Sun Country Plains, the Purple Daily Anonymous tip line doesn't just report on like Asante Samuel Jr. at the clubs. It reports on the Wolfsons on a Sun Country plane, Doogs.
They're spying on you, Doogs.
And Epcot.
I absolutely love it. Nobody even said a word to me. So, speaking of completely anonymous, I mean, yes, spotted me, but didn't even say hi.
But that's good.
It.
That's
absolutely
stealth.
Freaking love it.
We want our people to be stealth. Like, we like that.
Don't give away your identity. Just observe, and send emails.
And report. Observe and report.
Tell you, gentlemen, which happens plenty. So I'm at Epcot Center. This would have been last Monday, or was it Sunday? Days bleed together. 7, 8, 9 days ago, I'm at Epcot Center. Guy comes up to me, tells me how much he enjoys what we do, never gave his name, don't know where he's from, but in the middle of Epcot Center. It was fantastic.
It's amazing.
It does prove we have some sort of reach, not just here in the Twin Cities metropolitan area.
Amen. Yep, amen. So we're gonna get to the Doogie scoop bag here for the first time in a week and a half after we go to the Meadows at Mystic to celebrate. I think golf season is official here now that it's April and about to be 60 and sunny, Dex.
Yeah, beautiful place. Beautiful place. In fact, I'm pretty sure a lot of prominent Vikings players play at the Meadows at Mystic Lake. You might run into, you might see Doogie in Epcot, but you might run into maybe a Harrison Smith on the 14th tee at the Meadows at Mystic Lake. You never know. GolfTheMeadows.com to book that tee time. It's one of the best courses around. If you're in the Metro and you're looking for a good place to play, go to Golf the Meadows. There's tee times available for Saturday and Sunday. We got highs in the 60s here in the Twin Cities. Golf weather is finally here. Go book that tee time. Send us a selfie too from the Meadows at Mystic Lake. GolfTheMeadows.com to book that tee time.
Dukes, let's start Vikings
Hawkinson, here. JJ, a bunch of those guys love playing golf.
Yeah, let's start Vikings there. And I know you've been tweeting some of the top 30 visits. And there's a couple players that have tweeted from their limousines. I saw one of them. But basically every team has the ability to bring in 30 players that they either truly view as prospects that they're interested in, or maybe there's some smoke screens in there. But let's start with Vikings here, Dukes.
Absolutely. So, yesterday, today, Monday, Tuesday, the Vikings hosting actually over 30. So, Judd, you may remember the exact verbiage on the rules, but if a guy goes to school here in the area or is from the area, like Jalen Travis,
correct,
from Minneapolis, De La Salle High School, Princeton, Iowa State, offensive lineman. So Jalen, among the visitors, he doesn't actually count toward the 30. Ariante Ursary, who's going to be a top 40-ish pick, may go first round, Gophers left tackle. Because he is based here in the Twin Cities as a Gopher, my understanding is he doesn't apply to that 30. So it's actually more than 30. Do I have that right, Judd?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think if you are based here, you do not have to count against that list.
Exactly. So It's a number of prospects. It's guys that have first-round grades, like an Ursary or Revel, the cornerback from East Carolina coming off a significant knee injury, or Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon, who the Vikings have done a ton of homework on, or it's a potential undrafted free agent, Chandler Brayboy from Elon, who is a wide receiver / kick returner, ran a 4.45 at his pro day, actually did his pro day at Duke a few weeks ago. That is a guy very much on the Vikings' radar if he goes undrafted. So it runs the gamut. But yes, definitely a busy stretch over in Eagan right now.
And now these guys, unlike the Spielman years, they bring in players player by player, right? Because in Rick's day and age, they would bring in the entire group at one time to basically get them to have to socially mingle and things to see how they acted, I guess, in
who's the
that
alpha
structure.
of the group.
Yeah, I guess so. But this is now a 1-by-1 thing, right, Dukes?
Well, I mean, a bunch of guys are in town these 2 days.
But they're not doing it on purpose, 30.
Yes, exactly. So it is a bit different from the Spielman regime. But I will tell you, if you look back the last few years, if you look at the 3 draft classes under Kwesi so far, they have ended up drafting a few guys that did take visits. So that's why, to me, it's noteworthy when a guy comes in on a visit, certainly from an undrafted free agency standpoint. When you only have 4 picks, right? 2 picks in the top 100, 4 picks total, this group is going to be relatively uber aggressive in undrafted free agency. Well, why not sell a guy like Brayboy on everything that entails being a Viking? That there is a thought that he won't get drafted, smaller school guy, but certainly a lot of the tangibles and intangibles that you're looking for. And hey, you can use a kick returner. I know Isaiah Rodgers has some of that skill set. And hey, Brandon Powell is still out there if there's some interest in that regard, more so, I guess, from the punt return standpoint. But you could use a kick returner. Like, who is this team's kick returner right this second? Can they elevate whoever that might be? So I'm just saying, like, there's many reasons to bring guys in, but it's running the gamut. Like, it's guys that are middle round guys like Cody Lindenberg, Gophers linebacker from Anoka. Like, to me, he's early day 3. There's maybe some day 2-ish type guys, depending on where Harmon falls. But yeah, it's also a bunch of day 3 type guys / guys that will not get drafted. So this is I'm telling you, a very key stretch for Kwesi and company in Egan.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our latest Vikings news edition of Purple Daily today, and we went over some of the latest national reporting. All right, the Rodgers thing is dead for now. And
was it ever alive? Truly, I mean, I know I've been gone for 2 weeks. Everything we've said, like, is there anything that, like, you learned that's new? Like, it was the Rodgers camp that was pushing this the entire time. Okay, the Vikings pick up the phone. There was going to be a conversation. I just don't sense it ever got, like, real far off the ground. I really don't. Like, I truly believe the second that game ended in Glendale, Arizona, it was the J.J. McCarthy show. I really believe that.
Dukes, I said on PD today, especially because last week in Florida, O'Connell made it very clear that the Rodgers camp or himself had called the Vikings. I said, I think this is largely this. They're friends, and Kevin did not want to alienate Rodgers, because if you do, you're on the S list, and he gets very pouty and stuff. Kevin also respects quarterbacks abundantly. Like, he's made that clear, right? I think that the entertaining of the conversation had more to do with that, because if you dismiss him and hang up, he's going to be mad at you, and then you create a whole thing, and then he leaks that or goes on McAfee and says the Vikings disrespected me. So I think that this was more of that. Now, I will say this, though. I'm pretty convinced myself he's going to act like he's going to retire and hang out here, not sign with Pittsburgh, and hope McCarthy fails. So I think he's going to continue to make himself a nuisance, but I'm with you. I don't think that the Vikings, and this is why I wanted this leaked quicker, I don't think the Vikings were ever like, oh my God, we got to get him. I think they tried to toe that line very carefully, and thus we got all of these reports about, oh, it's a possibility, because now it's like, well, now it's not. Come on, guys. Let's use some common sense here.
I mean, they didn't make him an offer. Like, even going back to Kirk Cousins, even though we knew that Kirk was leaving, there was at least talks of parameters of what a new contract could look like. Like, my understanding is it never even got close to that point on the Rodgers front. Now, I will also say, like, Aaron is tight with Harrison Smith. Okay, Harrison Smith, KOC had a number of conversations going back weeks. So perhaps Aaron's name came up in one of those conversations where, KOC was going to be receptive, was going to say, okay, why not? Like, there's no harm. You're right. Like, I don't need him going on McAfee or leaking through back channels through David Dunn, others close to him, that, hey, we did him some sort of disservice, get on some sort of naughty list, something like that, right? So, the Vikings handled it, to me, just fine. I thought it was strategic when the news leaked that Rodgers wasn't coming here a day or two before that first big payment for season ticket renewal was due. So that, to me, was interesting. Yeah, I think in an ideal world, it would have been leaked a week or two prior. But overall, I don't think it ever was, like, close to actually happening. Yes, I do believe, I'm with you. Now, hey, I know McAfee's doing a show in Pittsburgh, so maybe Aaron Rodgers announces Wednesday, he is going to be a Steeler. But I think if he was going to be a Steeler, it probably would be done by now. So I think you're probably right, Judd, that he waits this thing out, that he wants to be a Viking. Like, there's no denying that. We know that. Aaron Rodgers wants to be a Viking. Okay, so yeah, deep down, he probably is rooting for J.J. McCarthy to fail miserably, whatever that might look like in late July, early August. Then hope the phone rings. But the Vikings were always going to give J.J. a really good runway to win this job, to be the guy this year.
Yeah, so what on that front? In some of the photos and videos, JJ's out doing work in the community. People made a big deal out of, oh my gosh, how is he ever going to put 20 pounds back on? He looks really good right now. And just from what we can see, he'll be at some point here in April. You can get back in and be around the guys and work out. So what are you hearing just behind the scenes the last couple months or so? Because they must feel good enough to at least push forward physically everything into the offseason workout plan here, because they literally have him and Brett Rippon on the roster right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's up to, somewhere in that 210-ish range. Like, he's put on a number of pounds since we saw that video on the sidelines in Detroit, week 18. So, yeah, I mean, he looks like he is about at his playing weight, plus with months to go. So, yeah, he's doing well. I still think they will, just pull back a little bit. Like, they don't need to go full steam ahead here, April, May. So I think there will be some dialing back, ever so slightly. But my understanding is he's doing great. He spent some time with his quarterback's guru guy, Greg, in the Chicago area. They go back to JJ's high school days. JJ was down there a handful of weeks ago. And so my understanding is, JJ looks good, feels good, is ready to go. The infrastructure is in place for him to have a really, really good year. Now the question is, do they have, a plan in place to help him even more? So what do they do at pick 24? So we're 16 days away from the first round? What do they do at pick 24? And I do think there's a number of offensive possibilities on the table.
Or do they trade back to get at least one more day 2 pick, potentially stay in the first round, get a player there? Because it's hard for me to believe that they're only going to allow themselves to have one day 2 pick, third and fourth round, or second and third round Dukes. I got to think that they, at the very least, along with potentially just accumulating more day 3 picks, would really like to have at least two third round picks, or a second and third round pick, probably ideally.
I absolutely agree. But, the old, it takes 2 to tango. So who exactly is moving up to 24? But yes, I think if they can, absolutely, they're moving back from 24. I just think that's easier said than done. But I sense because going back a few weeks, I think a lot of people were like, oh, they're taking a defensive tackle. Or at one point, people were like, oh, it's going to be a cornerback.
Yep.
I wouldn't dismiss wide receiver. I wouldn't dismiss, after the Mason move, we talked about whether a Henderson type or, the Iowa running back, going back, to late February, that running back could be on the table. I don't know if running back is on the table quite anymore, but to me, wide receiver, absolutely on the table. Offensive line, I can't rule that out. Sure, defensive tackle, very much a possibility. A Malachi Starks type, safety hybrid, to me, is very much on the table. Maybe cornerback, maybe the East Carolina kid, but there's a bunch of different possibilities, including helping, allowing JJ to get even more help.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to more in Doogie's scoop bag here, including some non-Viking stuff as well. But MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air, Judd, helping to power today's scoop session. So
there's a big, I think, question out there, and that is this, you guys. Who does Sports Dad let in his house? Because I've told you before, if somebody knocks at the door, I'm not going to get it unless I'm expecting them. But MSP is welcome every time. Why? In the last 2 months, they have replaced the water softener, the heater, and the furnace has been fixed. MSP, the hat trick at Sports Dad's house. And I'm going to tell you right now, the service is absolutely fantastic. It combines 2 key things: trust and quality. Trust and quality is always incredibly important. And now I want you to experience what I have, which is just outstanding trust 651-615-4292, or check out their website, callmsp.com. Callmsp.com. I'm going to tell you right now, if Sports Dad allows them into his house to fix things, then you should too. And if you have any issues, call MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Old Macadac lets legit pizza into his house. Yeah.
Every night.
It just walks up, knocks on the door,
Hello.
says, "Hey, hello.
Hello,
Hey,
I'm Supreme.
It's your favorite Supreme. It's your sausage and pepperoni friend.
Feels like, come on in.
Is the pizza oven warm yet? Let me jump right in there." That was kind of creepy, but legit pizza's not creepy. It's stone-baked, cracker-thin crust, zesty tomato sauce. You can find these glorious, glorious pies inside of a frozen section in a grocery store near you to have an authentic at-home pizza parlor experience. It's Pep's Legit Pizza. So, Dukes, if you got any other Viking stuff, feel free to fire away. But in the absence of that, the Western Conference right now is bonkers. And we get a bunch more games tonight, including Wolves and Bucks. 4 through 8 separated by a half game. All of them with the same number of losses right now.
All right, before we get to the Wolves, the Western Conference cluster, Walter Rouse, I'm told his camp feels like there's more of a pathway to playing time at some point at guard versus tackle. So, like, if you're thinking Walter Rouse, draft pick last year, is more tackle, just saying, don't sleep on the possibility of him playing guard, getting guard reps, working more so at the guard position, not the tackle position. Also just got an email confirmation. I'm catching up with Dan Orlovsky of ESPN later today. So I will pick his brain on the draft front. So if there's anything you boys want me to hit Dan on, text me or let me know later. On the Wolves, Giannis is in tonight. So Giannis didn't play, the Greek Freak, on Sunday, but he is back. The Bucks still have incentive. Like, they can avoid playing the Knicks in the first round. So the Bucks, to me, want that 5 seed. I haven't looked. Maybe even the 4 seed. Maybe there's a tiny possibility they can jump Indiana. But Milwaukee wants to be the 5, worst case. I don't think they want to be the 6. Now, there's a couple game separation, 5 and 6, the Bucks and Pistons. But the Bucks have incentive to win tonight. But sure, you look at the Wolves. Like, do any of these other teams, 3 through 8, Phil, have 2 layups like the Wolves have this weekend? The Nets and Jazz, who certainly have all the incentive in the world. Heck,
are they layups?
Cooper Flag on the national stage over the weekend. Like, you want the best opportunity to draft Cooper Flag of Duke.
Yeah.
So the Nets and Jazz have every incentive to lose at Target Center this weekend. So does any other team have 2 layups? Maybe somebody has 1 layup, but I'm not sure they have 2. Yes, we can circle Thursday. Wolves, Grizzlies, the 5th game of a 5-game road trip. But the Wolves should be uber motivated. Because to me, if you can split Milwaukee and Memphis, so I'll even give them 1 loss, but if they can go 3-1 this week, to me, you absolutely avoid the play-in. And I would not rule out, even at this point, the 4 seed. Now, to get to 4, they need to get to your 50 wins, so they need to win out. But, like, the 4 seed is very much on the table. If you look at the percentages, you know, there's all these different calculations, right? But Zach Lowe cited one the other day on Monday. You look at the Wolves' chances to be the 4 or the 5, we're talking about like 47% chance, 48% chance. Like, the likelihood of them ending up in the play-in is pretty darn low as the 7 or the 8 seed. We're talking like 15%. Now, I get it. Hey, if the Wolves team that showed up against, you know, New Orleans a couple weeks ago, or Indiana, when Indiana was down pretty much its starting 5, and, you know, their starting point guard, Nebhard, gets tossed from the game. Or, hey, even think about the first matchup against Milwaukee, right? No Lillard, no Giannis, Gary Trent Jr. went off, right? So the Wolves are fully capable. Look at Saturday, right? Like, Philadelphia had every opportunity to actually win that game down all their guys, with Philadelphia having every incentive to lose. Yet the Wolves almost lost that game. But I feel pretty good about their chances to win 3. Don't know about 4. Don't know if they get tonight and Thursday, but feel really good about their chances to win 3 to at least avoid the play-in.
Dukes, how much have things changed too? You know, 2 months back, we basically were talking about keep Nas. Na probably leaves. Julius, at that time, you might trade. Like it feels like that conversation has really pivoted in a good direction, which is Julius now has played well. Na at times has been absolutely great, including the game last week in Denver. So, how much do you think that has changed things with what has transpired in the last month or month plus with those players?
Well, I mean, when thinking about the summer, I still think it's Nas re-signs. I can see Randall opting in just because, like, who has money? And of those teams who have money, and it's barely plural, like, I don't think the Nets want Julius Randle for 4 years ungodly money, or even 3 years ungodly money. So where exactly is Julius Randle going? So him opting in, like, I absolutely can see that. On Naw, he changed representation for a reason. Now, I'm not sure he's going to get more than the mid-level, but the mid-level at this point is what, close to $60 million on a 4-year deal, close to $15 million per. Yeah, it escalates, by 6-7% each year, but overall about $15 million per year. I just don't think the Wolves are doing that. They have Terrence Shannon Jr., they have Jalen Clark. It'll be unfortunate, trust me. I'd love to see Naw back, but I just think there's a bigger role, a bigger payday, just something that makes more financial sense elsewhere versus the Wolves re-signing him. So, hey, credit to Naw. Hopefully he continues to play at a high level. How about Rudy Gobert? Let's give Gobert some incredible love. I mean, if Gobert plays like this, the way he's played the last few weeks, it's realistic to think the Wolves will be back in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is. Yeah, they are. We've gone over all these numbers on Flagrant Howl's State of the Wolves Monday, but if you give them the first 2 months of the year, understandably, to just, hey, tread some water, get these new guys integrated, and then they dealt with some injuries. But since the second week in January, which is now a 3-month sample size, Dukes, they have the third best net rating in the entire NBA behind only Oklahoma City and Boston, just ahead of Cleveland. They're a top 5 offensive team, top 5 defensive team over the last 3 months. And I don't really care what November and December brought. That's ancient history in an NBA season. What do you look like in the last 3 months? And they look like one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the entire NBA. It's crazy.
Hey, man. Now, I do think it's worth mentioning that they have caught a number of breaks throughout the season. Now, I'd love to see it compared to their counterparts. But, I mentioned how, the first time they play the Bucks at Target Center, no Giannis, no Lillard. Just go up and down the list of all the good players that missed games against the Wolves this year. Not that they have to apologize for that, but yeah, very noteworthy that they have been top 3 net rating for 3-ish months. But there's different ways to skew those numbers, right, Phil? Like, since Luka joined the Lakers, what is the Lakers net rating? My fear would be you end up 6, the Lakers are the 3. Like, I'd almost rather be in the 7-8 game and take my chances at Target Center in a 7-8 scenario to win that game to play the Rockets. And I get it. The Rockets might be the best team in the league right now, the way they've played for the last 12 games. I'm not saying they're beating Oklahoma City in a series or that they're better than Boston or Cleveland. I'm just saying right now, over the last 3 weeks, Houston might be the best team in the league. But I would still take my chances with the Rockets over the Lakers. I just don't like that 6-3 scenario. Wolves opening the playoffs in Los Angeles.
Can I make a case? And this is going to sound crazy, but bear with me. Can I make a case? Because, Dukes, you're right. The Wolves have gotten teams without their stars, without their best players at times, that this group has been so odd, though, and it starts with Ant, that the Bucks game here, for instance, that the Wolves would have been better off if the Bucks 2 stars had played, because the Wolves would have taken them seriously and Ant would have wanted to show out. And I know that sounds nuts, but it's like, if you look at the losses of this team, what is it? It's either bad teams or teams that announce we don't have a couple players. I honestly feel like that Bucks game, the Wolves would have played a better game if Milwaukee had been at full strength.
Fair. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, that's an issue that goes back even before, predates this year. So yeah, I don't necessarily have a great counter to that. You're absolutely right. Like, I can't deny that if Giannis had played in that game at Target Center, that a different Wolves team would have shown up. So Yeah, I get it. I completely get it. I like their chances, though. I really do. Like, okay, can you avoid the Lakers in the first round? Okay, so I get it. I'm fixating on that 6-3 possibility, but could you end up at 5 playing the 4 seed Denver Nuggets?
Or the Clippers.
Like,
I mean, the Clippers are
chances.
I would actually the way the Clippers have played lately.
Well, what's the Clippers net rating since about early January?
So on the season, the Clippers have the 3rd best net rating in the West. Wolves 4. I'd have to rerun. The Wolves have a better net rating since the January point that I gave you. But I mean, both those teams are, I believe, 14-3 over their last 17 games since they were sitting there in the 7 and the 8 together. So if that team's going to be healthy, there's really no like, even the Nuggets, like, well, at least like, the Wolves own the Nuggets. Yeah, but like you still have to play one of the top 10 players in the history of the league in a 7-game series, for God's sake.
But if I told you right now they open up against the Nuggets, you would say, okay, bring it on, right?
Yes, for sure. I think the Lakers are. Luka's not the same guy. He's had some flashes, and I know they just beat the brakes off Oklahoma City 2 nights ago. But by the way, those guys might sit. There's a bunch of dudes listed questionable for the Lakers in the second game here against Oklahoma City, which that's interesting that you're going to punt a game here with like 4 left with all these teams breathing down your neck. But the Lakers don't scare me as much because I think you can run so many guys at this version of Luka. But again, you got 2 of the 5 best players, in the last 10 years in the NBA on that team. So it's going to be crazy no matter who you face in the first round.
I mean, the resting thing is interesting. I get it. Some guys are dealing with some stuff, but there's so much of a separation between Sunday, then game 1 of the playoffs. Like the Lakers play Sunday, they may not play until the following Sunday.
Yeah.
So like there's plenty of time for guys to rest up. Now the Lakers are a game away from clinching the division. So if you win the division, you're guaranteed home court in the first round. So you're guaranteed a top 4 seed. So maybe the Lakers are looking at it like, okay, we can lose tonight in the rematch against the Thunder because we can clinch the division pretty easily later in the week.
Oh, the divisions in the NBA. The only time we ever think about the divisions. Yeah,
I know.
The Pacific?
I don't even like the conferences. I wish they would just seed 1 through 16. Get rid of conferences. So I might be on an island on that, but yeah, you're right. We never cite a division race or what the divisions mean, but there is meaning when it comes to home court in the first round. So if the Lakers inevitably win the Pacific Division, they can't fall below, like they can't be the 5 or the 6 seed, put it that way.
Now, do you still hang a banner for that?
I don't even know.
So like if you win, because like I can't tell you right now. I don't know what division the Wolves are in. Northwest? I forget.
I understand it is the Northwest. Yeah, but
you
damn right we hang that banner if that ever
happens. Do we hang that banner?
100%.
Okay.
Can you name all the teams in the Northwest Division?
Minnesota, Portland, OKC.
Portland, okay. That was the tough one to me. Nice job, Declan.
Minnesota, Portland, OKC.
Got sources in Portland, I'm gonna tell you.
2 more.
Chicago's in the East. Milwaukee's in the East.
It's a stacked division. It's a stacked
division.
Trust
me, the Wolves would love to be in the East. Glenn tried for many
Denver,
years.
and Utah.
Thank you. Denver and Utah.
Okay.
I wasn't sure you'd get Portland, though, so nice job.
By the way, Doogie just brought up a great idea.
I know we have a friend who works for the Blazers, but still, I wasn't sure you'd get that.
If you just went 1 through 16, the top 16 teams in the league, first of all, like 3 of the Eastern Conference play-in teams would just be out. Sorry, Bulls. Sorry, Hawks. Sorry, Heat. Mavericks would be out.
Okay.
The Magic would be the 16 seed against the Thunder. The Wolves would be, if these tiebreakers are right, the 11 seed, and they would play the Lakers, the 6 seed, in the first round. So you can't avoid the Lakers even if you seed it this way.
But here's hilarious. The beauty, right? Like, I get it. The Wolves play the Grizzlies on Thursday, but like some of these teams are also playing each other, right? So,
well, Clippers, Warriors play each other to end the season.
Yeah, the Clippers and Warriors play. So there's still going to be like, I can't foresee a scenario where there is, because as of like a week ago or even a few days ago, there was a scenario where seeds 3 through 8, those 6 teams would be tied. I don't see a scenario where we're going to have a 6-way tiebreaker or even a 5-way, maybe a 2-team. Now, that's what's interesting to me. Like, the Wolves are in a good spot with some of these tiebreakers. Then you go to these multi-team tiebreakers. They're not as pretty. So, like, yeah, I still think they end up 4 or 5. Probably 5, maybe 6. I think they avoid the play-in, put it that way.
Yeah,
like you're asking me. I mean, I'll play the percentages, right? Like, they're not going to end up as the 7 or the 8. But watch them lay an egg tonight and Thursday and end up as a 7. But I think they end up avoiding the play-in. I really do.
I'm just excited for the Wolves-Celtics finals in June. Dukes, give us a minute of rapid-fire scoops before we go
With Mark
here.
Lowry and Alex Rodriguez.
That's right.
On the podium accepting that Larry O'Brien trophy. So no surprise, right? It's what we've discussed. Glenn was going to bow out. He never had any grounds on which to appeal. And now the luxury tax bill in the neighborhood of $92 million goes to Mark and Alex. So Glenn had until May 11th to, I guess, go to the federal level and, I don't know, suggest that the independent arbitrator was somehow biased. That would have been the only avenue, and you weren't going to prove that Thomas Fraser was biased. So Glenn gave up the fight, but if he wanted to, he could have stretched this thing all the way to May 11th, then beyond that. But if it went into mid-June, he was going to be on the hook for that luxury tax bill. So Glenn strategically bailed when he needed to bail. He was trying to get some clarity on some people in the Wolves front office, more on the business side, what their futures hold. I still think we are going to see change. Like Mark and Alex, I sense there's going to be some movement this summer.
So is Glenn trying to protect?
Yeah,
is Glenn trying to protect some of the leadership structure as he transitions?
Yes. Business ops. Okay.
Yes, on the business side. Yep.
Okay.
So is there going to be a Mark and Alex, I don't know, press conference? Like, I'm sure that there won't be a passing of the torch considering the tension between the two sides, but are we going to get something here in the coming weeks or months to officially sort of like kick off the new Wolves and what these guys, want, are going to bring, blah, blah, blah?
We will, right after the Board of Governors officially approves this transaction, which to me is a mere formality. They were already approved as limited partners. Yeah, it's a little bit of a deeper dive with the majority portion of this, but like they have the 23 votes. They do more than that. So, outside of maybe Simon in Indiana, who's one of Glenn's guys, I think Mark and Alex, it's a mere formality. They have this thing. And so it doesn't even need to be the next Board of Governors meeting, which is weeks away. They can just vote via email or conference call. Like, this thing could be approved at any point in the coming days or weeks. So once that happens, my understanding is those two gentlemen will be made available.
Okay.
There it is. Darren Doogie Wolfson from the
On the
5
Gopher
Eyewitness
basketball
News
front,
sports team.
The dad of Kyan Evans told me the other day that the plan was after this dead period up on Thursday, that Kyan was going to come to Minnesota for a visit. That was Nico's point guard at Colorado State. Really good player. Like, if the Gophers can get Kyan Evans, like, hey, they've done some good work in the portal. That would be their best work if they can get Kyan Evans. But Evans apparently told some people from 24/7 that he doesn't have any visits lined up. So I'm trying to get clarity on what his dad told me versus what Kyan is telling some people. It's crazy right now with these agents, these brokers, who's in the portal, who are programs trying to get in the portal. Like the Gophers were hoping that a pretty good forward with some Minnesota ties was going to enter the portal, but he's not going to enter the portal.
This is a reality show, boys.
It is.
Let's produce it.
Nuts. It really is. It was.
They
nuts
just snagged
before,
some
wrong.
kid from Davidson. They just snagged.
It's even more
shooter.
nuts. Yeah, Bobby Durkin. Yeah, I texted with Bobby the other day.
Great
Hoping
basketball
to
name.
connect with him soon. And Crocker Johnson. I mean, I told you, Phil, on social media, his agent Matt Bellero used to work in the Wolves front office. A small world on that front, but there's a lot of agents and brokers doing a lot of work behind the scenes. It is absolutely crazy. It really is.
He's back, everyone. Darren Doogie Wolfson.
Good to have you back.
Damn. How about your
Great
Twins,
scoop
Declan?
session.
What's
I
the
know what you're
collective
talking
batting
about.
average? Is it above the 200 line?
Well, actually, I just looked this up. Here's where the Twins rank in all three statistics, in all three phases of the game: offense, defense, and ERA. In OPS, offensively, they're 27th. In team ERA, they're 25th. And in defensive runs saved, they're 29th. Other than that,
sounds like a total system failure to me.
Let's get the shirts back out. Still got a couple.
I just made that up right now. You guys can put it on a shirt if you want.
Yep. Hey, I love your guy, Royce Declan, but that's still going to be weeks. Like, I'll be shocked if he begins a rehab assignment in 3 weeks. Hopefully it's not 3 months, but I think that's being aggressive, that he'll be on a rehab assignment in 3 weeks from today. I hope. Love the guy, really do. Great personality. Big fan of Royce, but I think 3 weeks is really aggressive. Brock Stewart, hamstring, a little bit of a setback. He was supposed to start a rehab assignment by now. Hopefully it's not many more days, but it's a little bit of a train wreck of a start.
Hey, I'm gonna go watch Zebby pitch tonight. I'm gonna go cover the Saints.
Good.
The Score North Twins show will be the St. Paul Saints show by probably next week. So we'll see what happens there.
Give me a nice scouting report on Luke Keeschel, the starting second baseman, opening day next year.
Absolutely.
Boom. All right, Doogs, we'll do it again for a Reckless Speculation Thursday. You can find Doogie as part of the 5 Eyewitness News sports team, Channel 5. All right, dudes, there's your scoop session here, Minnesota Sports.
Beautiful.
With Mackey
Good to see
and Judd.
you.